With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
To be the best, one must beat the best. Ovals, road courses, the streets of iconic cities, race after race, the top sim racing IndyCar stars will battle it out. In sim racing, it doesn't get any better than this. This is their battleground, for the checkered flag, for the glory, for the right to say they are the best. The cars and stars of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, presented by Butt Kicker, are ready to race.
...2022 has been the year of Philip Kraus in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. As he looks to dethrone Adam Blocker, Kraus returns to his home track and looks to end the run of 4 consecutive wins that Adam Blocker has enjoyed at America's National Park of Speed. Today we begin a run of 4 races back-to-back through the month of August. It's time to bring the thunder. Welcome to Road America. Welcome to the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America, presented by Moser Racing. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined by Taylor Burris for today's race. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloudline of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, on hand today in the comms booth with the one and only Taylor Burris, Tyler Maxson behind the scenes controlling all of the action. Let's dive straight into our butt kicker pre-race show, and let's dive down through our series schedule, because Taylor Burris, today is the start of 4 tricky rounds that will define maybe the championship, at the very least the month of August. American open wheel racing is all about diversity. It's all about overcoming the different challenges that ovals, street courses, and road courses can throw at you. Today, it's the high speed in Elkhart Lake.
It certainly is. This track is by far one of the largest circuits that these drivers have to face all season long when it comes to racing here for the Lionheart IndyCar Series. But out of these 4 races that we're going to be seeing here coming up through the month of August, it's going to be exciting. Road America, the high speeds of Michigan, Gateway, and of course, Twin Ring Motegi, the oval circuit. So 1 road circuit and 3 road racing circuits is going to be very interesting to see how these drivers are going to be able to overcome this, and as well, a lot of things can shake up the championships with these 4 unique different circuits and layouts.
And by the time we get to the month of August, yes, we kind of know where Phil Krause is in the championship points. We'll know how the rest of the championship will play itself out. That's the look at your next level racing series schedule. Let's run you down through some of the standings that we've got. Many different championships to track, 3 major ones, starting with your butt kicker driver standings, and it is been a dominant year for the one and only Philip Krause, now almost 250 points clear of the next closest rival in Alexander Van der Sant. Caleb Benzie has been impressive in 2022 as well. Matt Taylor in front of your defending champion Adam Blocker. It has been a tough year for Powerslide overall. You notice the team names. You see Private Label Team Hype, you see Powerslide Adrenaline, Powerslide Ignition, and that's why, Taylor, when we look at the HyperX team standings, your team, the Private Label Team Hype, is the one on top, and by some margin, they have dominated this team's championship for now a year and a half and counting.
And it's all thanks, of course, for this year with the big help by Philip Krause to be able to have such a dominant year to help them propel themselves in that team standings. A very strong work from this team. But of course, the Power Slide and of course, racing here at Road America, as well as Michigan coming up, it's going to see if that team can really hold together, especially with some of the most trickier circuits we get for the rest of the season.
Plenty of fighting from third on back as well, but it is 2 running away at the front. No changes in that team championship to talk of. Here's a look at the butt kicker rookie standings, and well, if Phil Krause leads overall, he leads in the rookie standings as well. It has been the year of impressive rookies, the likes of Caleb Benzie, like I mentioned. Malechko Van der Sant, after a partial schedule in 2021, go full-time in 2022. They've been running quite well. Always interesting as well to see the likes of Alexis Newsom. Always quick at Indianapolis, always quick on an oval, still trying to find the tempo on a road course. But when you work with a team like Factory Backed Motorsport and Team i5G, there aren't many teams that are better at IndyCar racing on iRacing than those 2 names.
No, they certainly are not. They are some of the top teams when it comes to this. And of course, like you pointed out, this is the year for the rookies. Your top 3 in both the rookie standings is currently your top 3 in the championship standings. So a very strong lineup of rookies for this year.
Industries. Series details. It's season 10 in the Lionheart Racing Series. It's year 9 of the Lionheart IndyCar Series. A little bit of a typo there, potentially. We're all in this Dallara IR18 campaigning in a custom fixed setup built by RaceSpot's own Andrew Kinsella. They're fighting for their share of cash and prizes upwards of $10,000 with 2 Triple Crown races already in the books. Of course, Adam Blocker, the defending champion, Phil Krause well on his way to dethroning him. The team champions in control of their destiny as it stands right now. Let's talk, though, about your Moser Racing event details as we head to America's National Park of Speed to start a blockbuster month of August. Adam Blocker has been the dominant force in Elkhart Lake with 4 wins on the bout. However, today, Blocker's run comes to an end. Phil Krause will look to go into HyperX victory lane for the very first time at Road America. Pole position historically has been good, with the first 6 trips here seeing pole convert to victory. However, the last 2 years have seen a little bit more chaos, as Adam Blocker has gone from 2nd a couple of years ago and 5th in 2021 to work his way through to victory. Taylor, when we think about road course racing on iRacing, a lot of the time we don't think about safety cars. However, we have seen a safety car before at Road America 2 years ago. We saw a safety car earlier this year for these drivers as well.
It certainly is the case, and that's one of the great things about this series is they do utilize trying to let these drivers sort themselves out if an incident happens on track for these road courses, but in case it is not able to get sorted out before the leaders come back towards that incident, our race officials do a great job of getting that safety car out to slow the field down to not cause any more incidents out on the circuit.
Of course, that's your rundown through our Butt Kicker pre-race show. Special thank you to our friends at Butt Kicker for partnering up with the Lionheart IndyCar Series to bring you part of today's coverage. Qualifying underway. Drivers have 10 minutes, the track to themselves, and 4 flying laps to get the lap time in. A lot of the time we see drivers go for the fast lap on lap 1. We'll sacrifice laps 2 and 3 by returning to pit lane, getting a fresh set of Firestone tires onto the Dallara IR18, and going in again for one final flying lap at the very death of the qualifying session. The pressure well and truly is on, knowing how difficult it is to work your way forward. Up the 7 stories, Phil Kraus goes to complete his first lap. It will be a 1:43.546. He is the benchmark because there's only 3 times being set so far.
Yeah, a couple of other drivers are trying to get their time set. Connor Harrington currently sits P2. Aaron Morgan goes up to P3. That's your top 3 starting lineup for so far. As more cars are starting to get out on the track, we currently have 13 times, now 14 times set for today's action.
And you can see the pit marker on that left side of the screen. Drivers immediately returning to pit lane and electing to get the tires onto the car. Harrington, Kraus, a private label, Team Hype 1 and 2 for the time being. With many of your power slide drivers missing, this is a prime opportunity for private label Team Hype to continue building up in that HyperX Team Championship, put it well and truly out of reach for the power slide adrenaline team. On board with Brian Beard in that number 5 Synergy Motorsport Silver. The yellow and black Gomez Sim Industries machine will come down into turn 5. The track falls away from you, gravity works against you. This, though, is the primary passing opportunity.
It certainly is a primary passing opportunity. It's also an area where we'll see a lot of contact, possibly a couple of cars maybe overshooting the corner if they're not careful, but that is a great opportunity to make sure you can gain time or lose time. We'll have to see how that happens, especially when we start the race off here on lap 1 here in a little bit.
Interesting little fact to it. Of course, iRacing has just brought Fuji to the fold. Fuji, with its long pit straightaway, is 1.5 kilometers in length. Road America, only 200 meters shorter, 1.3 kilometers, and like I was saying, 7 stories, about 100 feet of elevation change from the final corner all the way up to turn number 1. So there is plenty of challenges, natural challenges that this track will present. Phil Kraus is winding it up through the final corner to start what will be his final flying lap. Let's jump on board with the private label Team Hype number 19. Let's ride around the 4 miles of Road America. What a beautiful track it is, a traditional track in so many ways, with grass on the outside. Through turn 1, brake at the 3 cones on the left and use the curb on the inside and the outside to maximize the distance down the hill into the braking zone of turn 3. Track falls away from you, but slightly cambered in if you touch the apex of the corner. Kraus uses the curb, rotates the car, and gets onto the power underneath the Sargento Bridge. This is where push to pass will be used. This is where drivers will funnel in the draft to try and look to the inside at turn 5. Hard on the anchors, though, just after the 200 meters. Kraus avoids locking up the left front, uses all the track and then some on offer as well. Under the Corvette Bridge through turn 7. Such a tricky corner. Less is more through that section of track. Flat out through the kink and hurrying through the hurry downs to the left-hand 90-degree corner that brings you to the carousel. So many of these 90-degree corners look the same. The camber is different. The profile is different. They are all very, very challenging. Some will use this carousel as an opportunity to double apex the corner, swing out wide, cut back in. Kraus rolls the momentum tight to the apex and through the kink in towards Canada corner he will go. It's looking like a good lap for Phil Kraus, projected 3/10 quicker than the pole lap time he's set so far. Hardest braking zone of the lap. Through Canada corner, down to 2nd gear. Kraus very carefully getting onto the power, powering up into Bill Mitchell Bend, and now getting to the left-hand side to set up for the final corner on the lap. A little bit of understeer as he works wide through the corner, onto the power nice and early with a 1:43.546 to beat. He climbs the hill, he rises to the line. Can Phil Kraus improve? It's a 1:43.320. Kraus goes a 1/4 of a second clear of Connor Harrington.
Looking to see if there's anybody else who's out there on the circuit after we saw that blistering lap time by Philip Kraus right now. So far, no one else currently out of the top 3, as we have one car out on track. Lionel Calisto was able to improve his time. He picked up to P6, as we are currently on board with the 91 machine, currently driven by Robert Melchizek III, as he is currently sitting in the 4th spot looking to improve on his lap time, and it's showing he's clicking the right way, so he might be able to gain a couple of tenths maybe on this lap as he comes out of the final corner and hits the power down for the Power Slide Ignition team to see if he can get a closer shot over at the pole time.
Here comes Malechka up to the line. In 5th provisionally, will he improve? Marginal goes to 2nd. Malechka quick in qualifying. It will all be about if he can keep the tires underneath him as we work through the race. We saw Malechka rapid in qualifying this past Monday night in the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship as those drivers headed to wine country, to Sonoma. But from 2nd on the grid, Malechka plummeted like a rock. He will start 2nd again provisionally, has a lot of work still left to do. Here comes the 8 of the MadWorks Motorsports. Matt Taylor crests the hill, comes to the line, sits in 6th for now. Is there an improvement for the 1:43.828? No improvement. He starts his final lap of the session. Will not get time to finish it though. Qualifying draws to a close.
And that's one of the downsides of trying to make sure you go back out on the racetrack with enough time here. I mean, yes, it's a lot. You can get around this circuit in less than 2 minutes, but still, it takes a little bit of time to get up to temperature with those tires here and be able to set that flying lap. So, unfortunate for Matt Taylor to not be able to set this 2nd flying lap, as we have a couple of other cars trying to finish out that. That's Aaron Morgan in the number 24 machine, currently sits P5 for the graphic LPM machine. And that number 24 through Canada corner comes a little bit wide, clips a little bit of that gravel. Hopefully doesn't collect a incident point on that matter as he works through the final couple of corners here and will really get a little bit loose right there. Misses the apex completely and decides to cancel this lap time.
Bales, Morgan will struggle. Go fast time comes to a close. It's time to go racing at America's National Park of Speed. Let's run you down through the starting grid for today's SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America, presented by Moser Racing. And here's a look at the butt kicker starting grid. It is yet another pole position for Phil Kraus in the storied year that is 2022. A 1:43.320, only though about 700ths quicker than Robert Malechka, who is looking to bring the heat. Connor Harrington, Stefan Larkamp, row number 2 with a great qualifying performance for the 62 Alcantech NHR Esports machine. Graphics LPM, MadWorks Motorsports, and championship rivals in the Lionheart Retro Series for 2021 find themselves sharing row number 3. From 7th, it's Lionel Calisto in the 97 Synergy Motorsports Silver Car. Matthias Kraus rolls alongside. Jason Brophy inside of the top 10 on a road course. He will be thrilled with that performance. Caleb Bensi, 3rd in points, completes the top 10. Kai Bommersbach, Andrew Marquez, 11th and 12th positions, almost 9/10 off the pace, while Andrew Kinsella, RaceSpot's own Andrew Kinsella, rolls from 13th, hoping it's not unlucky, number 13. Brian Beard completes road 7 with Fraser Riggs behind them. Ryan Otis and Tyler Groff, a second off the pace, row number 9 for the two of them. AJ Musselman and James Brandt make up the top 20, with Alex Guyon and Bradley Sexton 21st and 22nd. Lanini, Houston behind them as well. Jenkins and Branch for the AeroX Racing Team and Powerslide Ignition. Matt Wagner brings some new colors to the party with the PPG-esque livery for the number 3 machine. He'll be inside of Tony Showen for Powerslide Ignition. Thumbs up, cancer down, LPM represented by Mike Rasmas and Luis Gonzalez Nunez for Team SimRace247. Your first 2 cars with no lap times on the board. They're also the final 2 cars that will roll in today's field. No end-of-line penalties to bring your attention to today, fortunately. Adriano Pinheiro will have one to serve when he returns to the series, likely at the Michigan International Raceway. The cars will roll as they get set for 31 laps of racing. A full pace lap for drivers to work their way through. We'll see how much fuel saving they have to do around the 4 miles here at America's National Park of Speed. As always, featured onboard cameras to run you down through. Let's start with Brian Beard, who carries your Gomez Sim Industries onboard look. Makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. The team race first, number 66, and Matt Houston carries your butt kicker onboard look. Sim racing is better with butt kicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com. And in the team SimRace247 car, Luis Gonzalez Nunez carries the SimRace247 onboard camera. Visit SimRace247.com, where sim racing is for everyone. And last but not least, it's Chris Fowler's number 20, who is not in today's field, so just the 3 cars to talk about today. A slightly smaller field than we're used to in this Lionheart IndyCar series, with many drivers using this as one of their drop weeks in a busy August with 4 races this month. Split tire calls through the field. This is something that Taylor Burris and myself had discussed before we went live. The requirement that drivers use both the black primary compound of tire, a little bit more harder, a little bit more durable, but grips up less, will give up the degradation a lot slower than the red alternate tire, which will fire off very, very quickly, but will very much burn up at a rapid rate of knots. Drivers have been thinking that the call would be to start on the black primary tire, and as the conditions cool off, switch over to the alternate. There's about 9 cars, Taylor, that have gambled and are starting on the alternates.
It certainly is a big gamble for some of these drivers. They may be able to benefit in the opening laps here, but as the race progresses, it's going to show that these cars are going to be struggling for grip and will have to come down pit road possibly even a little bit sooner than expected. So they got to make sure that they take care of their tires, but still find ways to work their way forward before they switch over to the black tires that we'll see later on in their first pit stop for the day.
I see Alexander Van der Sant in our YouTube chat. He's on holiday with, I believe, his family in Portland. Pretty nice way to spend a week in August. Van der Sant should be back for Michigan in just 7 days' time. Taylor, from a driver's perspective, when you have 4 back-to-back races, when you've got a busy month of August, what does it do to your psyche? How do you approach the first run and the first race of the run, knowing there's still a long way to go before you can take a deep breath?
Well, first things first is pace yourself. I mean, this is kind of going to be, if you consider it, an endurance for these drivers. You know, normally we have a little bit of a break in between the season, but with these 4 races, it's best to pace yourself, find ways to also make preparations for these upcoming events. Even though these are fixed setups, you still have to get used to making adjustments as best that you can for your driving style, depending on which circuits we go to. So these drivers are focused in on for tonight, but after that, take a few moments to get ready for the next race, and it just follows suit. So make sure these drivers pace themselves. That'll help them prevent them making any mistakes, hopefully, during this 4-race run. And another thing, get plenty of rest. I mean, these drivers are going to be out here for a long period of time. Some of them, of course, staying up a lot later than normal during the middle of the week. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for some of them if they do not make sure they take care of themselves mentally and physically for the next 4 weeks.
Of course, less time commitment somewhat required when it's a fixed setup competition, but dialing in your in-car tools. Front and rear anti-roll bars, we'll talk about them through the course of the day. And of course on ovals, weight jacker will play its part as well. For Phil Krause, it's career start number 23 in what is already a historic career in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. It's pole position number 9. Krause searches for win number 11 in his hometown. The drivers crest the rise. We're racing for the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America, presented by Moser Racing. A good start from Krause. Malechka knows the impetus is on, gets on the push to pass, defends from Harrington, covers the inside. Malechka second, almost looks to the inside of Krause. He runs wide. Door presented now for Connor Harrington to go to the inside, down the hill into turn 3. It's a private label hype. 1 and 2 as it stands right now. Phil Krause running away at the front of the field.
Phil Krause has already checked out to about a 0.6 of a second lead over his teammate Connor Harrington. He is in a hornet's nest of Malechka and Aaron Morgan as they make their way down the marine sweep into turn number 5, and it's close contact. There goes Harrington. He nearly loops it around, but is able to save it, but loses a couple of spots. He'll drop back to P4 as they go underneath the Corvette bridge.
It was on power that Harrington put too much load into the tires, almost then got run into by Aaron Morgan in that number 24 machine. They all survived. Matt Wagner, Tony Schowen did get involved in chaos. They dropped down. Bensi looking to work forward with the red mark alternate tires, knows he's got to get the bit between his teeth, and around the outside of the carousel, not traditionally a parting opportunity, with extra grip, with extra confidence, Bensi soars to 7th spot.
Yeah, Caleb Benchi, one of the rookies here as they work their way through the kink before they make the short run over to Canada Corner, doing a great job in these early opening lap as he will be trying to move up through the field. He's currently about half a second back from Lionel Callisto, who holds that 6th spot, so he's going to try to see if he can set the power down as they work through Thunder Valley here.
Already 1.5 seconds clear is Phil Kraus. Will this be just another drive through Wisconsin for Phil Kraus? We'll find out. There's still a long way to go with 31 laps scheduled for racing today. Plenty of drivers get on the push to pass as for the second time we crest the hill. We work into turn 1. Harrington with the bit between his teeth, looking to the outside of Aaron Morgan. Not the preferred place to get the move done. We'll have to back into line for the time being. Morgan continues to go defensive. They're losing ground potentially to Malechka. Harrington goes to the inside, but sweeping through. Morgan holds to 3rd.
Great opportunity right there for Morgan as he is able to capitalize on the mistake of Harrington as they work their way through. Keep an eye, though, make sure he doesn't have significant nose damage to the nose of that number 24 machine as they make their way down into turn number 5. A big send right behind him from Matt Taylor and Lionel Callisto in 5th and 6th as they go side by side underneath the Corvette bridge. This area right here as they come up to turn 6 and 7, very easy to get the car a little bit too light. If you're not able to keep that car planted down under braking, you can have a little bit of trouble, go offline and loop it around through that section. We've seen it happen time and time again, both in the real and virtual world at this circuit.
Bensi past Callisto. Callisto losing ground after fighting with Taylor maybe a little bit too hard for this stage of the race. Still so long to go. Fuel window estimated around 11 laps without fuel saving. However, drivers believe that using the fuel maps, using lift and coast, they can go 12 laps, do 2 stints on the black primary tire at the start of this race, let the temperature at the track cool off, go to the primaries to close the race out. Of course, for the likes of Bensi, it's a very different proposition as he flips it on his head, starts on the alternate tire. It's an uphill climb for him. He knows what he's gotten himself into. He knows the challenge that presents itself for him. When you think about Road America as well, it is a track where draft is going to play a factor because a lot of the time in IndyCar, Taylor, you still carry significant downforce even with the long straights that we've got at Road America. And so that's why being able to pop out like Aaron Morgan, take advantage of the draft and slot your way to 2nd is what this race is going to be about.
It certainly is. It's all about timing the slipstream and sling passing your way, your competitors here, as we'll see, especially down this moraine sweep heading over into turn number 5 as they go underneath that bridge right there. And as they do that, you can really see the power that Connor Harrison has as he'll go side by side as you ride on board with Melchizedek as they head into turn 5. He gives way, allows the opening for Connor Harrington to move up to P3. But with all of this battling going on, Philip Kraus has a great opportunity to utilize fuel-saving opportunities now as he's 3 seconds ahead of the competition.
Nice and tidy start for Phil Kraus, his teammate Connor Harrington. A little bit more work to do. Jason Brophy in the 3rd of the private label team-up car still runs in 11th. Not a bad spot for that 88 car to be, although he has dropped 2 spots from where he started this race, at least one of them to a car bearing the red alternate tire to start this race off. I mentioned that drivers are waiting for conditions to cool. What are the track conditions, you might wonder? They are sweltering, 23 degrees Celsius in the air, baking the track to a 41-degree measure. There's a little bit of cloud cover over the track, but it's low humidity, it's low wind. We're not going to see too many variations in anything other than track temperature continuing to drop as we work towards 5 p.m. on iRacing Day.
Yeah, it's a really hot day here in Wisconsin. It's going to be even more incredible to see how well these drivers are going to be able to maintain their tire temperatures and not trying to overuse them too much, especially for those who are utilizing that alternate red, as well as those who are using the black tires here as we watch them work their way back over into turn 1. You're watching currently, I believe that's one of the graphics machines as they head back under towards turn 3. That's Stephen Lampkin, who is currently having to work his way in that 8th position.
A long race in terms of laps, but only 50 minutes on the clock. Now we're past the opening stage of the race. Safety cars become less and less of a realistic chance. There's a look to the inside from Larkamp as he fights with Kalisto down the hill. Great qualifying for Larkamp, struggling in race trim. Bit of a wiggle there from Kalisto. Still has an overlap as they come into turn 7, but overcommits 2 tires into the grass. Kalisto spins around, spins again through the left-hand sweeper.
We talked about the trouble of that corner right there, and there's its first victim of Kalisto as he is going to fall all the way back outside of the top 20. Stops the bleeding around 26 maybe? Yes, he's going to stop in the 26 spot. He has a lot of work to do though here, but thankfully still a lot of time left for these racers here as they've only completed lap 4.
It is one of those races where, to go back to your point earlier with the endurance required for these 4 races in August, you got to measure yourself here. A look at the incident then. You can see Kalisto already had 2 tires into the grass before they got into the braking zone. And once the incident started, it was on a one-way ticket to the eventual result, which was another spin, unfortunately, for Lionel Kalisto, who now slides back to 27th. A lot of work to do, albeit with no damage on his car. We focus now at Matthias Kraus, who is working forward in the all-black machine as up the hill they go once more. Inside of the top 10 for that 59 car, the Crescent Motorsports car, running by yourself, even a fixed setup competition, is a detriment, Taylor, because you don't know what other drivers are able to do with in-car tools. You're also not able to share telemetry at road courses. Telemetry can help you find the time.
It certainly can, and of course that's one of the things is even with a fixed setup, it's now really based on the driving style of a driver here. One driver might be a little more hesitant to maybe enter into a braking zone and back off a little early. Another driver may consider it's the best to get in there very deep before getting on the brakes or getting out on the throttle a lot earlier than maybe getting on the throttle a little later. So it's all depending on the driver's inputs throughout this race, and that what makes utilizing a fixed setup so unique here with the iRacing service, of where leagues can actually do that to make a little bit more balance for it and put it more in the driver's hand instead of based off of a setup. As one driver goes a little wide.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake there by Larkamp will open the door for Kraus to sweep around the outside, promote himself up into 7th with Brian Beard behind them and closing as well. Kalisto's had, I think, another moment maybe off the track because he's losing a little bit more ground I'm seeing on my timing screen, but doesn't seem to be too bad. I guess when you're in 27th already, there's only so much worse that it can truly get. To your point on driving styles as well, a lot of the time, even within the same team, whether it's in the real world, a Chip Ganassi Racing or a private label team like Powerslide Motorsports, different team members will run different variations on the same setup to adjust the car to their own liking. And that's why I like that we have the in-car tools. Mike Razmash trying to use the confidence in his car to go around the outside at Canada Corner. Going to be unable to get it done. He will slot back into line behind Bradley Sexton, with Kalisto, Jenkins, and Nunez all behind them. 5-car train for what is 24th on back. But now that we have the ability to adjust the in-car tools for many a year, Taylor, even if you race fixed setup, you didn't have the ability to adjust anything in the car. It allows you to play with it a little bit, to find a little bit more comfort that you couldn't do before.
It certainly is, and it's a big benefit for the drivers because in all, it actually helps improve the racing of the series here. And of course, with originally where we couldn't be able to make those in-car adjustments because of the fixed setup, it made it a little bit difficult where drivers had to be a little bit more cautious perhaps during a run because the car is not able to affect certain ways during a certain part of the run. Now, with us being able to make those needed adjustments, we can be able to make a small adjustment here because the car is maybe getting a little too loose, a little too tight, maybe the arrow's not working to their liking at a certain point in the run. They're able to make those adjustments in car to help improve upon their own racing as well as the racing entirely for us to enjoy and be able to bring to the viewers here today.
They are fighting hard for the final spots on track. I didn't note as well, Brophy and Beard fighting pretty hard for 9th as well, just 10 seconds off your race leader. While Kraus has broken away from Morgan and Harrington, he's not breaking away as much as I thought he would have, given the clean air that he's got. Kinsella down the inside of Brian Beard into Canada Corner. Great move from the 41 car as he starts to build up in his performance. Told me pre-race that fuel saving was at the forefront of his mind. Now he's got to close the gap to Brophy in front to be able to get into the draft to start saving fuel once more.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity here and was working their way through the field. It's going to be interesting to see what Kinsella can do during this run here as we're closing in about 4 or 5 laps before we see that first round of pit stops, unless some of the drivers are trying to utilize some fuel-saving strategies here. But for the most part, I see really no one improving on making those fuel-saving strategies except for our race leader, maybe also even Aaron Morgan and Connor Harrington, because they're just staying lined up nose to tail, not really making any efforts of trying to pass each other at this time.
I still find it remarkable. End of 2021, we're sitting there crowning Blocker as the champion yet again, and it was the type of season that dreams are made of. Inside of the top 5 in every race he competed in, averaged a podium. Phil Kraus, though, has entered 2022 and done the same thing, if not in a more impressive way, because he's had no bad luck. He's been at almost every race. It is truly a fairy tale season for Philip Kraus, and while maybe, yes, it's not as close a championship fight as we would have loved to see, it is one of those years which will go down in memory, not for being the closest of fights, but for being a season which will be very, very tough to match. Phil Kraus now 4 seconds clear of Morgan. Harrington is starting to close to the back of Aaron Morgan in that fight for second as well. Not yet able to fire a move to the inside. They're on the push to pass as they enter Canada corner outside of the top 10.
And to be careful with how much push to pass used in the early stages. We see it happening in IndyCar, of course, where you drivers utilize that in the very early stages to where they don't maybe have enough towards the end. So you have to know when and when not to utilize that push to pass. It's very tempting. Trust me, I understand. I speak from experience. Very tempting to utilize that push to pass when racing in these IndyCars to try to get that boost. As we see, here's the slipstream, the slingshot. Around goes Connor Harrington to the inside of turn 1. In around Aaron Morgan, move him up to P2. But you gotta pace yourself and know when and when not to utilize that push to pass, because we still have quite a bit of racing left to go, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these drivers will still want to have a push to pass or 2 left when they go towards the final few laps of this race.
Yeah, Brian Beard burned through half of the 10 push to passes already. You get 60 to 70 horsepower extra that pushes you down these straightaways. It does burn a little bit more fuel. Keep that in mind. Side by side for what is now 6th position. Bensi defends from Kraus. Looks to the outside as the red tires for Bensi start to go off. You see just how much he's struggling on the power. Rear end steps out of him on the exit of turn number 5. Kraus unable to capitalize as a result of that, but we seem to know where the crossover point is for these tires. Once you hit lap number 6, those red tires say goodbye to the grip.
They certainly do. Now it's all, ooh, you see a little bit of tire smoke right there from Caleb as he comes through there. Now coming through the carousel, really struggling for grip. You see him just swerving around the front of the nose, trying to make those 2 apex as they come out of the carousel. Now it's going to be interesting to see how he makes it through the kink as you ride on board with Matthias Kraus. He gets a good slipstream. He'll get to the inside, now the outside as they work their way down towards Canada corner. Will Matthias send it in and try to make sure he can gain the spot? He will complete the pass as he gets a little bit of locked up right there. Has to check up. That calls Caleb to check up as well, bringing Stephen Larkham involved in this battle for the 6th spot.
Behind them, a bit of a moment there as Ryan Otis tries to work forward, gets around the number 12 of Adam Frazier, who got pushed wide into almost the gravel at Canada corner. It was as a result of a rather optimistic move, some might argue, from Tyler Graf, who is up into 15th. On the red alternate tires. Plenty of tire games being played right now. The top 7 all on the black primary compound of tire. No change into turn 1 behind Kraus. The 6th on back starts to form a train. 3 seconds behind Malechka in 5th. Now 12 almost seconds behind your race leader. Philip Kraus continues to dominate the proceedings here. Got word in the YouTube chat, has finished every single race this season on the podium. Incredible. Brophy on the button. Around Bensi, maybe even looking to try and get past Larkout. Will commit to the inside. I think more in defense than offense, but gets locked up, gets crisscross. Bensi with the up and under. Almost contact between the 2 of them. Bensi back to 8th.
A little bit of tire wheel-to-wheel contact on that incident as they came out of turn number 5. Were able to keep it straight and nice and going. But then now that opens the door for Andrew Kinsley, who is now going to try to close in. He sits in that 10th spot looking to try to get around Jason Brophy for that 9th spot as they work their way through the carousel.
Such a high-speed, high-commitment corner is this carousel, and when you're 3 cars in line, that dirty air does start to add up. It is not the easiest of situations to be dealing with, that is for sure. 1 car has already made a trip to pit road this most recent lap pass as AJ Musselman came down to pit road, got some clean air to himself, now runs in 28th and last on the track as it stands right now. For Musselman, it's going to be the opportunity to quietly work his way through the rest of this race and just try reach the checkered flag, pick up the points as they will come. Through the final corner, Jason Brophy runs a little bit wide. You can tell he's looking optimistic as Bensi comes to pit road, 10 laps in the books.
Brian Beard also will come down pit road as well in his number 5 machine. Gets on the binder so we can make the pit road speed limit. And as they work their way through, those are going to be the only 2, I believe, that will come down pit road. Actually, a couple more have also joined this train of drivers. Tyler Graff, Ryan Otis, and Adam Fraser as well will come down pit road, and Chris Lanini.
So plenty of takers, and basically everyone that started on the red mark tire, apart from Jay Brandt, who tries to extend 1 lap longer in his number 15 black and pink machine. So that's the call from these drivers that elected to use the red compound of tire when it was at its warmest, the track. All of them switch over to the black primary tire, other than Chris Lanini, who goes onto the red compound of tire. Not sure if I maybe mixed him up and he started on the black primary compound of tire. An interesting call, that is for sure. 21 cars will grace us on pit road starting next time by.
Yeah, Lanini's still on pit road, so he must be having some other issues out from the incident he might have had earlier on, possibly. So we'll now have to wait and see when your race leaders will come down pit road. Currently, Philip Kraus is coming through Canada Corner, as well as the rest of the field. So we'll see who will be the first one to blink as far as those who utilize the black tire compound. And who comes down pit road here as they come on to lap 11.
Kraus won't commit. You'd assume that when you're clear of the field and can run to your own number, you can A, run to a pace, B, run to a fuel number. It is pretty simple for Philip Kraus as his teammate Jason Brophy is not having such an easy day of it. Yes, is into the top 10. Now fighting though with Andrew Kinsella as they go up the hill. 7 stories of elevation change from the final corner to turn number 1. It is a steep uphill incline. It is like you are pointed to the heavens. Kinsella won't get the move done. He's a little bit too far behind for the time being. There's still a long way to go, though, for some of these drivers in terms of burning through the push-to-pass. Jason Brophy has gone through half of those push-to-passes. Andrew Kinsella has been more patient. He's still got 9. And I always say this, Taylor, so for the first time you get to hear one of my sayings. It's not just push-to-pass, it's push-to-defend as well. Brophy cannot use it as Kinsella tries to go aggressive. He'll go to the inside. Brophy will watch as the power slide driver goes up to 8th.
Beautiful pass right there by Andrew in order to make that work and move him up a little further inside the top 10 in that 8th spot as they go underneath the Corvette bridge and work their way over through turns 6 and 7. A beautiful pass by Andrew in order to move up. Now he sets his sights on Stephen Larkin, who is about another 2 seconds up the road. He's got a little work to do, but with the pit stop cycle about to begin for your race leaders, it should change a little bit.
Lift and coast was the fuel strategy game in this IndyCar for many, many years, across 3 different generations of car as well, starting the IR04, going to the DW12, now to the IR18. However, in the last year or so, things have changed, and fuel maps can be used to manage the fuel burn of the car to hit the lap target that you are looking to do. Will drivers come in on lap 11, or will anyone be able to extend to lap 12, knowing we had a full pace lap that actually would have burned the fuel? Kraus is only able to go to lap number 11. Connor Harrington, who was in a lot of traffic for parts of the first stint, is only good enough to get it to lap number 11. But there goes Andrew Kinsella, who will indeed stretch the stint 1 lap longer as pit road gets busy.
Robert Melchizedek as well will also stay out on the track, so at least 2 guaranteed are going to try to make it an extra lap around this circuit. And by safe to say, everyone else in the field will come down onto pit road. Yep, pretty much everyone else except for those who pitted earlier on in the race from the lap 10. And Caleb Benchi is going to be the first car who comes up next towards pit road. He will stay out, though, of course, since he pitted back on lap 10.
Execution on pit road going to be crucial. Slowing down to the limit, getting into your box, releasing. Brophy is going to be in a drag race as they roll with Andrew Marquez, who's had a quiet day so far in the 63. Looks to continue climbing. Off of pit road and merging, Brian Beard already up to speed and tires where they need to be. He'll slot in right behind Marquez and Brophy. Riggs in front of Bommersback and Otis with Graf behind them. This is where cold tires, you've got to watch out. Even though it looks as though Brian Beard is on the red alternate compound of tire, I can confirm that is not the case. He is on the primary compound of tire. It is going to be a little bit confusing, but Brian Beard will go for a long stint in the mid part of this race.
It'll be interesting to see how he can be able to hold up there. You see Brian Beard with those alternate red tires on, and see if he's going to be able to control his pace a little bit and make sure he can have enough grip to get him through this second run here on this pit stop cycle as the field works their way through out of turn number 7, heading over to turn 8. It's a great drive right now by Brian Beard, as who sits in that 12th position, just so close to the edge of the top 10. As we see Robert Melchizedek also make his way down on pit road to report.
We will see Malechka as well as Kinsella boxing this time around. Now, where will the two of them come out? Of course, Kinsella was around where Jason Brophy was. Malechka had found a little bit of no man's land, was around Matt Taylor, behind Aaron Morgan, comfortably in front of Matthias Kraus. I will point out as well, because I forgot to do this at the start of the race, we're not running 100% fuel. This is not the 70-liter, 18-gallon fuel tank that many will be familiar with. It is limited to about 85% off. Fuel runs are therefore a little bit shorter than what you would expect. It does make the alternates a little bit more viable because the full tank of fuel will go a shorter distance. Malechka will drop and roll, release himself from pit lane, and emerge in 5th position. Meanwhile, Andrew Kinsella is searching to slot into this gaggle of cars that we watch now in towards turn number 1. And as Brophy leads the field of 10th on back into the corner, Kinsella is a full second clear of Brophy.
Great pit stop strategy for Kinsella in order to stay inside the top 10 and have a little bit of a cushion in order to get his tires up to temperature. Very beneficial for him here in this stage of the race.
Now it's this crucial middle sector, or middle stint of the race. Mind the tires, do as many laps as possible, get to the alternate in the best spot possible. Down the inside of Brian Beard goes Mitchell Riggs, the Ascari Autosport machine, gets one, Bommersback tries to think about it as well. The second Ascari machine, unable to get it done. This is the tense moments, though, when all of these cars are chalked up once again. Things tend to go wrong. 30 started this race. We had 2 retirements on the opening lap. Matt Wagner and Tony Schowen in the number 3 and the number 31. Joe Branch has retired just a lap ago. Chris Lanini was able to go after whatever issues he has. He is 1 minute and 4 seconds down. Will potentially be lap traffic by the end of this race. But 27 cars around 4 miles of Road America, Taylor, means that lap traffic is not likely to be a major factor.
No, not at this point in time here. We might see it come into fruition later in the race, maybe during the final few laps, possibly, depending on how drivers utilize pit strategies. But at this time, I don't see any issues for our race leader to deal with as far as major lap traffic for like what we see maybe later on this year when we head to tracks such as Michigan, Motegi as well.
Robert Malechka lost a whole bunch of ground in that cycle. While Kinsella was able to make the overcut work, Malechka not able to do so, and they were, I think, a part of that time was lost in pit lane itself, the execution from Malechka. I just wonder if he burned through the tires just that little bit quicker, and by the time he got to the end of the run, was just running out of grip, especially at the rear end of these cars when you're so reliant on the pendulum to get the car pointed, stamp onto the power. Difficult day then for him. Getting to the halfway marker, it's Phil Kraus that leads from Connor Harrington, Aaron Morgan, Matt Taylor, and Robert Malechka, the top 5. It's a 7-second advantage that Phil Kraus enjoys at the front of the field, and I always say that it's a good thing when you lead a race and we don't talk about you much. For Phil Kraus, that is very true today.
Certainly is. He's checked down to about a 6-second lead, actually, and growing at this time over his teammate Connor Harrington, who has about a 2-second advantage over Aaron Morgan throughout the field. Everyone's kind of started to separate themselves inside the top 7, as there you see Philip Kraus in that pink private label Team Hype machine, as he is just taking his time, not really wanting to push the envelope anywhere. He did just set the fastest lap, though, last time by, so he is really showcasing his talent of why he is the championship favorite this season.
championship favorite. I think championship assumed winner at this point. Luis Gonzalez Nunez has gone off the track in the Team SimRace247 machine, has been able to get back on without causing too much chaos, without losing too much time. We focus back in on this battle outside of the top 10. Brian Beard, nestled in that number 5 machine, has gained 1 spot to start this race off, is in front of Kite Bommersback in that number 37, Ascari Autosport machine with those red highlights on the wheels, the red highlights on the wing as well. Bommersback's teammate Riggs already able to sail on past the Synergy Motorsport machine. Now it's the turn for Bommersback to do so. He's on the button, not getting any drafting help from his teammate. I wonder if it would have been easier if they had played the team game. Bommersback is able to commit and go on through. It was fought a little bit harder than he would have wanted it to be done.
He certainly is going to try what we can see and utilize here as you ride on board with him as they came out of turn 3, now down the front moraine sweep, and it's going to be a really interesting to see if he can make up any ground on his competitors up ahead, but not close enough to make any passes as they head down into turn number 5.
Just listen to the car going from 6th gear to 1st gear. With this fixed setup, there's no different gear ratios as well, so something that the drivers in practice are always making sure to understand exactly how much they can follow in the draft, given the ratios that have been given to them. America's National Park of Speed is the home race for the leader, Philip Kraus. What a season it's been for the number 19 private label Team Hype car. Inside of the podium in every single race. It's looking like he'll sail to victory number 11 in his career. There's still a long way to go though in the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America presented by Moser Racing. You're watching RaceSpotTV and the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series. The run to the checkered flag is coming up next.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Halfway through the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America presented by Moser Racing. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to the month of August and 4 races for the drivers in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, on hand with Taylor Burris and Tyler Maxson behind the scenes controlling all the action. The story of the race has been domination by the dominant force in 2022. Phil Krause has been impervious to the pressure, leads by 8 full seconds from his teammate Connor Harrington. But there has been plenty of fighting outside of the top 10. We've been watching this battle group of Andrew Marquez and the train that's formed behind him continue to snake their way around Road America and putting on a show. Taylor, it's been a fascinating start to the race. One tire stop is already done. A lot of drivers still have to make their mandatory swap over to a second compound of tire. There's plenty of intrigue still in the air at Road America.
There certainly is. There are, Juna, as we see a lot of drivers trying to utilize that, waiting to determine when to switch over to that second set of tires that they have to utilize before this race comes to a checker flag. We should be seeing the second round of pit stops happening anywhere between the next 2 to 4 laps times now, as we see this great battle happening on the track between Kite Bosch as well as Jason Brophy. This is the battle for P12, as Kite will move up to P12 and now set his sights on Mitchell Riggs in the 09 machine.
Remember that Brophy emerged from pit road at the end of the cycle, about 1.5 seconds behind Andrew Kinsella, and more crucially, in 10th position. He is now in 13th and is starting to be slid backwards. Bomber's Back was able to use the push to pass to his advantage to look to the inside of turn 1. Brophy thinks about the jink to the outside, the commitment down the hill into turn 5. The Grello private label team hype car tried it, but not hard enough. Bomber's Back holds Brophy at bay, at least for the time being. Like Taylor was mentioning, we're only maybe about 3 laps away from seeing the opening of the pit stop window, with the drivers that started on the alternate tires being required to come on in for one final set of primaries to get them to the end of the race. Here's the look at the start, though. There were 2 drivers that got caught up, Matt Wagner and Tony Schowen. Wagner loses the rear end. Schowen has no time to react.
Tough break for both of those drivers, especially on lap 1 of a race, is the most frustrating thing, especially for those, whether you're the one who caused the mistake or gets caught up in the mistake. You're pretty much kicking yourself, wondering what you could have done in order to not be involved in that incident. So a tough break for both Wagner and Tony Schoen. We'll have to see what they can do at the next round at Michigan.
Stefan Larkamp lost out to Caleb Bensi in recent moments. Larkamp, the 62, gets on the push to pass to try and defend not just from Bensi, who's trying to run away, but maybe Kinsella, who's closed in that battle as well. At 41 car, is looking rather quick at this mid-stage of the race. The fuel saving, of course, works well for Kinsella to get the overcut in the first stint. And again, he's got draft, he's got the fuel saving assistance he needs. At the very least, even if he doesn't gain the time on the track, what Kinsella is hoping for, Taylor, is to minimize the time he spends on pit lane, to minimize the laps he does on the alternate tire.
And he's certainly trying to do that right now, as we see him make his way over into turn 5, goes over the paint curbs a little bit too much, but thankfully was able to make it through there nice and cleanly as he tries to gain some ground over on Stephen Larkamp, who's just right in front of him. Then you also have Caleb Benshi, who's one of those first drivers to stay out with utilizing the alternate red tires in the opening stages. He's still staying inside the top 10 and has done phenomenal for the rookie this race.
Third in the points coming into this one was Bensi, and what a run it's been for him so far. Yes, he has taken advantage of the struggles of the likes of Blocker, Harrington, and so many of our regular championship considerated drivers, but for Bensi, it's been remarkable. The victory in the Speedway Series last year built the confidence, stepped over from the DW12 only on ovals to road courses and ovals in this IR18. How can he close off the rest of 2022? That will be the question. Past Larkamp, next target will be Matthias Kraus in that 59 machine, who runs about 6/10 back from Robert Malechka. And I said this at the start in qualifying, Taylor, and I'm, to be honest, not totally surprised to see this for Rob. And I can say this because I'm his teammate, so if he wants to get angry with me, there's only so much anger that he can really force my way. But when you're quick in qualifying, you have to understand why. You need to figure out where you're burning through the tires, and when you get into the race, you have to understand what you do different to make it through a full run.
You certainly have to. That's where drivers can, if they could have a chance to look at their telemetry, they really, at this moment they can't, but that's where the practice and the testing comes in to maybe find out those certain points, looking over the tire data that you may have after a run and determine, okay, this is maybe where I might be using too much tire input as far as maybe braking a little too much or maybe getting on the throttle a little too quickly back on the track and causing that tire to burn off more quickly than what it should be. So drivers are just trying to find that little bit of an edge somewhere to determine where they can utilize that tire and save it at one point or another on this track. And it's so critical to do that in order to be able to just take care of your equipment out there on the circuit to try to extend the life as much as you can on these tires.
AJ Musselman boxes should be good enough to get him to the end of the race. He is cutting it rather fine. We'll track the progress of the 54 factory-backed motorsports machine. Harrington gets on the button for just the second time this race. The leaders up front have been rather reluctant to use the extra horsepower that the push-to-pass will give them. I think partially just thinking about how it impacts their fuel mileage. There's that number on the left side. Remember, all drivers started with 10. The likes of Jason Brophy, Brian Beard down to just 2 and 3 respectively. It will make the final stint just that little bit harder. Of course, so many great partners of this Lionheart Racing series. I see some conversation about some of them in our YouTube chat. We've got a great event coming up here on RaceSpotTV this coming Friday, though, as Next Level Racing continues their community challenges, if you will. They've challenged the likes of Team Fordzilla, as here come the drivers that started on the alternate tires for the final time to pit road. But the Next Level Racing community has challenged Fordzilla, legions of racers, so many top sim racing teams. And this Friday they do it again as the Next Level Racing community goes up against the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing team of the Charlotte Phoenix. 7 p.m. on the 12th of August, we head to Orange Park South with street stock cars. It's a fixed setup for everyone, and it is a no damage elimination race. At the end of every lap, 2 drivers will get eliminated. It's the type of format that you can really only do here in the world of sim racing.
It certainly is, and it's probably one of the most interesting combinations I've ever thought of, utilizing the street stocks at a circuit like Oran Park, which is by far a interesting and very difficult circuit, no matter what type of car you take out on that circuit. Most drivers now utilize it for the rookie level racing that we see with the MX-5s or the Formula V cars currently on the roadside, but it is a fun and interesting track that will test the limits of the drivers this Friday night.
And of course, we use Oran Park as the home for our Sim Racing Star in a Dumpster segment here, or Dump Truck, excuse me, on RaceSpotTV, our Talking Tents podcast, where we've taken some of Sim Racing's best talents and given them an undrivable setup at an undrivable layout of an undrivable car and said, 4 laps, put in a lap, see what you can do. It's been a whirl, it's been a blast. Now, though, with 10 to go, when do drivers elect to blink? Jason Brophy intimated to me his likely call would be coming into pit road for a 9-lap stint on the red tires to end this race off. For Andrew Kinsella, he's looking to, at the very least, go 1, if not 2 laps better than Brophy, run less laps, on the softer, faster, less durable alternate compound of tire. I love strategy races, Taylor, because you never know what the right one is until we get to the checkered flag.
You certainly do not, and that's what makes it so incredible with watching these drivers race here around this circuit at Road America, trying to utilize what would be that best compound that best suits them during a race here, as we watch on here with Kinsella trying to stay ahead of Steven Larkamp as they make their way down over into turn number 5, gets back onto the power as they climb up the short hill underneath the Corvette Bridge through turn 6 and 7. Just great racing amongst these 2 competitors here. Of course, for Kinsley, who's having a strong run, of course, all night now, working his way up through the top 10. Wants to see if he can maybe break the top 5 before this race is said and over with.
Still, decent way to go. Remember, these are long laps. We're talking 4+ mile laps. We're talking 40 miles still left of racing, and 40 miles is no short distance when you're on the edge as much as these drivers are. Look at the way that they're pushing the limits of the track. Kinsella in particular has taken a line into turn 5 that only I think, drivers that really look into telemetry would look, where you swing wide, you run the car past the curb on the right-hand side of the track, you open up the corner, you build the speed a little bit more. It's that type of line where you're like, okay, I understand why he builds the setups, because he's the guy that's willing to try everything out on track.
He certainly is, and Kinsella is doing a great job of utilizing that moment as they come out there. We see a couple of drivers coming down pit road. Aaron Morgan, Matt Taylor, Connor Harrington, as well as Philip Kraus, your race leader. But Kinsella and, of course, Robert Malchezik is also going to stay out on the racetrack for their one extra lap, and then they will come down pit road next time by, hopefully.
So power slide ignition and power slide adrenaline, one of each of their drivers able to extend yet again. Harrington, up into the box he goes, 4 fresh Firestone tires, the full tank of fuel as well. Will emerge about 9 seconds back from Phil Kraus. The gap for the lead continues to grow as it stands right now, as pit road gets increasingly busy. If you didn't pit earlier, you're pitting now, unless your name is Malechko or Kinsella. Look at the drivers, exit stage right and enter into the braking zone for pit lane. It is also a tricky entry into pit lane. I talked about execution in the previous cycle of pit stops, Taylor. In the real world, they often use a multi-part pit lane entry so that you slow to 1 speed in the first part, you slow to a 2nd speed in the 3rd part. What has happened to Aaron Morgan? The 24 car is off the road, and from a podium spot has Aaron Morgan just binned it by himself at the bottom of turn number 3.
Turn 3, cold tires, definitely not your friend when it comes to that, and unfortunately, it cost him a valuable shot of a podium and valuable points in the championship for him. He was having such a good run, but unfortunately, as we take a look here, just looks like he misses a little bit of his braking zone, washes up a little too wide, clips the grass, and loops it around.
That's a good job of not slamming into the wall. That could have been a lot worse. Noses it in, but I think he might just have gotten away with damage there. Did have to watch the rejoin. Grab another look at it and jump on board with the graphics LPM car. You can see just cold tires, it pushes wide, and by the time he's able to get the lock back on, the push to pass had already activated. It was headed for disaster. Aaron Morgan, what a promising run. It comes to an end. The last time I saw him on a road course performing this strongly was Silverstone, when he was taken out on lap 1 and then taken out again by the same driver about 15 laps later. There are some years, there are some drivers that just cannot buy any luck. Aaron Morgan's luck, it seems, has gone in the direction of Philip Kraus.
Certainly seems to be that way indeed here. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to find a way to recover. He currently sits in 9th, so he has a little bit of time to maybe make up some ground on his competition, as we're still waiting to see when our 1st and 2nd drivers of Malchezik and Kinsella come down pit road. They have yet to pit. They're going to stay out another lap around this circuit, as we see Robert Malchezik has put 1 driver a lap down. That's Chris Lanini. So our first car to be put a lap down on the racetrack has happened here. He now sets his sights on Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who's up the road as well.
Brophy gets past Brian Beard. 2 cars with very similar colors. I did see a post from the private label Team Hype drivers that there was potentially going to be a Tommy Milner appearance, not in the strategy box, but on track today. Unfortunately, it did not pay off, but Tommy Milner, you can speak to this. Taylor is part of the private label Team Hype program, but Ty Stover, as well as Tommy Milner, have put this team together, started at the very tail end of 2020, building up with the likes of Harrington, Joshua Chin, and then Phil Kraus, and they've had a lot of success in this championship. They have a lot of success as well in something else we cover here on RaceSpotTV, in the Precision Racing League. Kinsella and Malechka to pit road.
Yeah, as we see those top 2 come down pit road, but yeah, you pointed out correctly, you know, with the PRL series that we see on Sunday nights, a strong, dominant championship run for them so far this season, and look forward to covering the rest of the season here with RaceSpot as we get ready to go for the next round of the PRL Cup Series.
There's so much going on RaceSpot. We've got 3 of these Lionheart competitions. I think we've got 7 of the PRL, 8 of the PRL series as well.
The PRL.
Yeah, at this point, I've stopped trying. It's as simple as that. So, Kraus, Harrington, and Taylor cycle to the podium. Malechka will emerge in 4th. Where does Kinsella come out, though? Is it in front of Bensi? Is it behind Bensi? It would appear as though Kinsella will be alongside the 29 car, behind Larkamp. Kinsella now has the freshest tires, has tires he can push to the end of the race. The Canadian will be searching to work into the top 5.
He's going to have a lot of work to do, but he has enough time to make it work. He's got about 6 laps to do it. He has enough push to pass as he gets on the push to pass to stay ahead of Stephen Larkamp and get up to the back bumper of Caleb Benchi as you ride on board in the power slide adrenaline machine. down into the braking zone through turn 5. Has to be careful with the cold tires. He doesn't want to make the same mistake as we saw happen to Aaron Morgan as they come up to turn number 6 underneath the Corvette bridge, and then powers his way to the short chute of turn 7.
I always like putting out the pun. They hurry through the hurry downs. It's tailor-made set up there. Side by side, Graf holds on to 16th at the expense of Adam Frazier, who tried to get the move done. Plenty of fighting again up and down the track. And to go to the Morgan story, Aaron Morgan's unfortunate incident on cold tires, the person that takes the most reward out of that situation is the man that Morgan robbed of a championship at the end of 2021. Matt Taylor is on course for a road course podium at Road America. Kinsella around the outside. Both Bensi and Kinsella use the push to pass. It doesn't happen. They stay in line for now, and I will just re-emphasize, even though it looks as though Kinsella's on the black primary tire, Bensi's on the red alternate tire, it is the other way around. It's Kinsella that has the bit between his teeth.
Kinsella's really going to put the pressure on Benji. He will go to the outside as they climb up the 100-foot scale as they come across the start-finish line here. And that's going to be a drag race. Oh, slight almost contact between the two as they enter the braking zone of turn 1. More contact, and that will push Kinsella off the line a little bit, over that curbing a little bit too much. He has to make way and give way to Caleb Benji this time around.
Let's be honest, that was a little bit clumsy from Bensi, just moving a little bit left under braking. Kinsella was already on the line. There's not much more left you could go. Kinsella's going to be patient here. Does have now another push to pass that he's burning. Bensi will force the Canadian to commit to the long way around. We've seen Kinsella make it work before. He'll try it. It's squeezed to the very limits of the track. They bump once more. Bensi and Kinsella, the tempers are flaring. Bensi holds on yet again. The question will be, if it continues like this, are they going to get to the checkered flag? Will there be a monumental wreck?
Hurrying down through the hurry downs, it's going to be a good old-fashioned rivalry brewing here tonight, possibly the rookie versus the veteran. Who's going to come out on top as they work through the carousel? Benji now has a great run out of the carousel as they make the run over to the kink. And Kinsella's going to stay right tucked up underneath that wing as you're right on board with him through the kink as they make the run over to Canada Corner. Gets right on the bumper and works to the outside. He's going to try to take the long way around again this time. Will Benji give way? Nope. Crossover possible. Not going to happen, unfortunately, for Kinsella. He is really putting the pressure on Benji this time.
The more they fight, the more ground they lose to those in front, the more those behind are being brought into the fight, and Kinsella knows that. Thought about the lunge into the final corner. Might compromise the Canadian as they climb the hill just yet again with the laps ticking by, the time winding down. Kinsella has a push-to-pass deficit to Bensi and maybe understands that. A little bit more patient into turn 1, using the draft to his benefit, trying to pinch the Team Race First machine. It's not going to pay out this time. It is getting closer and closer. All the way to the inside into turn 3. Kinsella fires the move.
Benji's trails will fight him on the outside. More contact, pushing him almost off the circuit again as these two will go side by side down through the Moraine sweep. Well, Larchamp has a bag of popcorn ready. He is enjoying the show and could pick up a 2-for-1 special if these two get any more contact here as they head into turn 5.
Morgan as well. This time, does Kinsella try the up and under? He will. Bit of a loose moment there for Bensi. Under the bridge at turn 7. Kinsella's to the inside. He gets the elbows out. Escorts Bensi off the road. Bensi will spin, stricken in the middle of the track, and try and get out of harm's way as quickly as possible. It goes all in tears for the Team Race First number 29. What a charge it was from Caleb Bensi. The charge comes to an end.
It certainly does. He'll fall back to the 12th position, possibly. Nope, he will lose that to Jason Brophy, so he sits in 13th position at this point in time, but I'm pretty sure race officials will have a look at that. But to look at Steven Larcamp, he could have possibly picked up a 2-for-1, could not, thought better of it, and decided to stay in position to gain one of those spots as we take a look at the replay.
Oh, perfect timing, because I was just asking our producer to do it. You see the wiggle from Bensi. Kinsella has a bit of overlap, but he misses the apex by almost a full car's width, I think it's fair to say. Might lead a look from up above at that. Then you saw Bensi with the quick 360. That was good car control to point it back where it needed to go, minimize the time lost.
Certainly is. Here's another look at it, and you see he completely missed the apex there and just had to push him up the track. And great car control by Benji to get on the track as quickly as possible without causing any more incidents here as we watch back this battle for P6 between Kinsella, Larcamp, and Morgan as they come out of turn 1.
Taylor, are you a IndyCar fan?
I am an IndyCar fan.
So you watched the race at Nashville, right?
I did watch the race at Nashville. It was a very exciting race, I would have to say.
So one of our members in our YouTube chat has said what I was going to say as well. That was welcome to Lionheart from Andrew Kinsella to Caleb Bensley.
It certainly was. I would have to be a big welcome indeed. And this is by far the most competitive IndyCar league on the iRacing service. One of the top, all the top IndyCar drivers come and race here, as Marquez has a little bit of issues out on the track.
Yeah, they bumped wheels, and then Marquez almost went straight into the path of Mitchell Riggs, the second of the Ascari Autosport machines. The 37 will go on through. Those who watched at the start of the season will have remembered that we had a third Ascari Autosport machine, but for Barrett Rolfe's pulled out, and now there seems to be damage to Marquez, dropping positions and dropping like a stone. Marquez out of the top 15.
Yeah, he's continuing to let drivers by as he's got over the radio to let some of the other competitors by, not to try to limp it back over, or trying to limp it back over to pit road, but he must have an issue possibly with suspension or the undercarriage of his Dallara.
The laps are ticking away. Phil Krause is already on this run down into the back straightaway with 3 laps left to play. He leads by almost 14 seconds from Connor Harrington in what has been a dominant performance for the private label Team Hype in a race where many of their rivals are missing in action. Blocker's not here. Van der Sande is not here. Many more missing this first race of 4 in the month of August. Of course, Michigan is up next, Gateway after that, and then over to the land of the rising sun and Twin Ring Motegi. Diversity is what American open wheel racing is all about. Your 2020 Lionheart Retro Series champion, Ryan Otis, past Brian Beard, the 95 up to 13th.
And if you think about it also, we have a doubleheader at Motegi. We run the Oval, of course, then we take finally a little bit of a break for a couple of weeks before we return back to Motegi for the Grand Prix circuit later on in September. So a very busy few rounds coming up for the Lionheart drivers.
It's the first time that we'll go racing at the Motegi Grand Prix layout. It's an interesting one with plenty of unique little things required when you design an oval that is surrounded by a road course. It's not a roval. It is very much 2 distinct facilities with sightlines being blocked on the road course by the oval, which goes on top of that road course facility. It's going to be fun. We see what we're in store for. Mixed emotions and mixed opinions from some of these drivers heading into that one based on what I've seen. Marquez limps that car back to pit lane. What a sad day for his race to come to an end. It looked like a rather innocuous bit of contact, but maybe that explains, Taylor, why Marquez looked like he had no control, almost careening straight into the path of Mitchell Riggs.
Could be, and we'll have to maybe find out what happened to him. Of course, it could also have been an issue with his equipment, possibly. You know, he could have maybe had an issue with the steering wheel that caused him maybe to have some issues as well, because it's very odd of how straight he went in when he was entering over at turn number 6 as well, compared to what normally we would see. Normally we would see it go off. He might just miss the corner a little bit and maybe wash out a little bit too wide, but it looked like he just went straight on, like either he missed his braking point or had issues with his pedals, or something else happened to that Dallara IR18.
Jason Brophy got a poor run out of the final corner, has opened the door for Otis to get on the button, burn his final push to pass, and look to secure 12th spot. The red and white car slots into line. Brophy now has a push to pass left to play to try and get the move back done, with 8 miles left to go for these drivers fighting outside of the top 10. Otis has climbed his way slowly forward through the field, has gained 5 positions so far, but is not your hard charger. That instead will go to Mike Razmas, the points leader in the Lionheart Retro Series, who has gained 10 spots, currently runs in 19th position. Brophy loses another one. Brian Beard down the inside at turn 5. Brophy's got to watch. Graf Kalisto looking hungry as well.
Kalisto, who we saw had some issues early on, he fell back outside of the top 20. He's now clawed his way back to where he's just about on the edge of a top 15 finish here. He's got about 2 laps left to do that here as we watch him work their way through the hurry downs into turn number 8. Through the carousel they'll now go. And can Kalisto break the top 15 after he gets around Tyler Graf and try to see what he can do in these final 2 laps?
And while they fight through the carousel, white flag in hand, Phil Krause into turn 1. 4 miles from a home victory, and a dominant home victory is that. You never want to talk about the car in the lead if they're having a quiet day. If you talk about them, it's because there was drama. No drama for Krause, has to survive. Battle for 14 spots, sees Graf overcommit into Canada corner. Brophy now has lost all the ground to those in front. He's lost the draft. Graf and Kalisto will build as they climb to start their final lap.
As we see Brophy trying to swerve a little bit, try to break the draft from Kalisto along with Tyler Graf as you ride on board with the Synergy Motorsports Silver Machine of Kalisto. As he gets a great run on Tyler Graf, he'll look to the inside of him and try to complete the pass through turn one. Tyler Graf holds on to the outside.
You can try the inside, but if you're pinched to the apex of the corner by that outside momentum, it becomes difficult to get the move done. Kalisto found that out and found it out rather quickly. Now we'll try and close on the run into turn 5, but in front of him, both cars are on the push to pass. Brophy and Graf will hold stations momentarily. A late lunge from Graf gives room to Brophy. No change around just yet. They continue to fight. Brophy with a terrible exit on turn 5. Graf immediately down the inside, no second invitation required. Still side by side. Kinsella was unable to get this done cleanly. Graf left enough room around the outside at turn 7, gets the job done. And while Brophy struggles, his teammate smiles in delight. Phil Kraus will win his home race, will win for the 11th time in his Lionheart IndyCar Series career. Can anyone stop the man at the front? Can anyone stop the Kraus machine?
Dominant victory by Philip Kraus as he comes home. We have to wait another 14 seconds before his teammate Connor Harrington finally crests over the hill, but we got to go back to this battle here for this 13th and 14th position as Tyler Graf and Lionel Kalisto gets around, and Brophy has fallen all the way back to 18th position. Jay Bryant and Adam Frazier were able to get around him as well.
Disappointing race for Brophy after what was a rather good qualifying performance. I expected a lot, and I just wonder if he went off track because he has lost a lot of time, not just positions, but time as well. What an electric race the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America presented by Moser Racing was. The 2 pit stops saw a couple of drivers try alternate strategies, but it didn't work out the way they wanted. It was the pole position man that led almost from flag to flag, only being interrupted by his pit stop cycles. It is Phil Kraus yet again that celebrates in HyperX victory lane, one step closer to the championship.
What a victory indeed for Philip Kraus as he burns it down over there by turn number 5 and celebration, and just extends that points lead even more so.
And it's not just a good day for Philip Kraus. Matthias Kraus nets his best career finish in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Plenty of drivers getting the results that they wanted here today. What a day it was. We wait for the final car to cross the line before we bring you the race results, as Philip Kraus will park it and head into HyperX victory lane. Here's a look then at your SimRace247 race results. Dominance from Philip Kraus, almost 15 full seconds clear of Connor Harrington in the private label Team Hype number 44. For Kraus, some redemption after a race at Road America in ISOWC ended in much less satisfying circumstances. For Matt Taylor, what a performance it was for him. It is only his 2nd career podium finish in this series. Of course, Silverstone last year, amongst the chaos of Joshua Chin and Adam Blocker, it was Matt Taylor that came across the line to sweep up the final step of the podium. He does it again, this time 19 seconds behind your race leader. Malechka was quick in qualifying, and I maybe threw him under the bus for struggling in the race pace, but the Power Slide Ignition number 91 was able to get up to 4th. Matthias Kraus, coming off the 7th place at Iowa, puts in a top 5 finish for the Crescent Motorsport number 59. Andrew Kinsella knew it was going to be done on strategy. He works his way up 7 positions to finish in 6th, while Aaron Morgan will be distraught at a mistake that robbed him of a chance at a podium. Larkamp, Bensi, and Riggs make up the rest of the top 10, with the Ascari Autosport 09 machine gaining 6 spots through the course of the race. Behind him, his teammate Kite Bommersback finishes where he qualified. Otis, Beard, Graf. Great fight that we saw them in, with Kalisto, Brandt, Fraser, and Brophy as well. What a show they put on for us. Razmas Guyon make up the top 20. Only 30 cars took to the green, only 25 on the lead lap at the end of the race. Matt Houston in the 66 in front of Bradley Sexton, Paul Jenkins, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and Chris Lanini, who all at the very least finish on the leading lap. Andrew Marquez 2 laps down, placed the blame on himself for the incident in a message in the virtual paddock. No hard feelings for that one. Musselman, Branch, Wagner, and Schowen complete the 30 that took to the grid. Only 25 of them are making it to the checkered flag. It is time to dive into our Lionheart post-race show presented by HyperX, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloudline of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. And while we wait for the private label duo of Phil Krause and Connor Harrington to come and join us in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth, let us go to Matt Taylor, third step of the podium, and it's only his second career podium finish in this Lionheart IndyCar Series. Matt, it was a quiet day for you. Talk to us about getting back onto the podium at a road course once more.
Yeah, I was curious what that battle with Aaron, how that was going to kind of shake out, because I think he was pushed a little harder and I might have had some push to pass at the end, but he just made a mistake coming out of pit road, and from there really watching to see where Malechka came out with his strategy, and if that gap was going to be enough, I wasn't really sure. So I'm thrilled to bring home a podium with just a nice clean run.
In terms of the start of the race, started back in 6th. It's always treacherous starting at Road America as you climb the hill, getting ready to go green. What sort of emotions were going through your mind as you got steeled for the start of this race?
Just to be really patient and really watch everybody around me. Don't do anything unnecessary. Try to kind of create a gap if you can to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. And luckily it was really tidy going into turn 1, and we were able to line up and go racing from there.
You're one of the drivers, Matt, that competes across the gamut of Lionheart competitions. We enter now the month of August with 4 of these IndyCar races. We talked about it on the broadcast, but I want your perspective. I want the driver's perspective. What happens in a stretch like this when there is no time to breathe, there's no respite from the action?
Yeah, it's tough, and especially jumping between the other series, because this car requires so much more attention from you. There's so much more going on between tire strategies and roll bars and car settings just week after week. It's a heck of a stretch, and then to be able to balance that with trying to stay competitive in retro and speedway on top of that, it is really difficult to jump around and sort of plan your practices out and figure out how you're going to handle everything.
And of course, this is a community. It's not just the race itself, but all the things that build up to the race. Congratulations on 3rd, Matt. A great finish for you. We'll see what happens next week as you head to Michigan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Matt Taylor, always good to speak to the MadWorks Motorsports number 8. Let's step to the second step of the podium, where Connor Harrington brings up the 1 and 2 for the private label Team Hype. Think we have a copy with the private label Team Hype driver, but we will just check in. Connor, can you hear us?
Yes, hi guys, hi.
Good run for you there, but it was not without its share of difficulties. The start proved to be quite interesting. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And then you had to fight your way forward. What was that first stint like? How much were you pushing that car?
Yeah, I was happy with the first 2 corners I ran. And then I was just trying to give Rob a lot of room. I just don't want to cause an accident in front of the field or anything like that. And I just, I hooked the left front on the back of the curb, and I got really upset. And thank God Aaron didn't run over me. We were able to keep it going, and then were able to eventually get by them. So not really much. I mean, kind of pushing. Like, it would have been nice to stay with Phil, but once Phil kind of ran away and got detached from Aaron and myself, I kind of just used Aaron to make sure I can make that fuel number in the beginning stint, and then from there just try to maintain the gap to Aaron. Phil has been so ridiculously good this year. There's really no reason to try to chase him down, especially when he's my teammate. So we're happy with the second, and we'll settle for that.
I was saying this earlier, but everyone's bad luck that they're having during the season, they can blame Phil Krause for that because he's eating all of their luck. I know you've had a bit of an up and down 2022 with some personal health things and stuff. A spot in the championship maybe not reflective of the pace that you've shown because of incidents that you've had as well. You recap what you've had so far in 2022. How are you looking to close off this campaign?
Yeah, our 2022 has been really up and down, with between Open and Lionheart, and I felt like we were getting pulled in like 5 different directions with all the racing that we were doing. The hand is feeling a little bit better every day. There's good days, there's bad days. But we're looking to finish strong. I mean, I think we can finish second this year, even though we had not the ideal start that we wanted to the beginning of the Lionheart season. But I think second is still on the cards. We'll keep pushing. We'll see how things turn out. I think we have 3 oval rounds in a row, which can always be a little bit of a lottery, but we've been okay. So we'll see if we can make some gains and move up to that P2 in the championship.
Final question, and I'll let you go. What happened to Tommy Milner? I was very excited coming on short notice to come and do this race. I thought I'd see Tommy. No Tommy.
Yes, we thought Tommy would make a special guest appearance. We asked George, and George graciously said that yes, Tommy would be available would be able to run some of the road course racing. So for the remainder road rounds of the year, if the schedule lines up for Tommy, he's got a lot of real life commitments and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll see Tommy out on track. Tommy's really taken an interest in our IndyCar program, so you may see a little bit more of a 2-time Le Mans winner getting in an IndyCar, which is really exciting. So as always, just really cool to have the support of Tommy and everybody at Private Label Team Hype. It's been a really great ride the last couple of years, and I'm hopeful for more great things to come.
Connor Harrington in second. Would have been interesting to see how Tommy Milner did, and I have heard, like Connor is saying, there is big interest from Tommy to build this IndyCar program more and more. But now we go to the top step of the podium. We go to a man that seems to be unable to stop winning. Phil, I mean, you are just taking all the good luck that everyone else would like to enjoy. 11 wins in your 23 career starts in this series. I mean, what a day, what a simple, I say simple, I know it wasn't that simple, but a simple race for you after putting it on pole.
No, it was a pretty straightforward race, to be fair. With the setup that Andrew gave us today, it was pretty high downforce, so you're pretty draft locked. So I knew if I could break the draft pretty early on, I'd just kind of run my pace and see if they ended up battling behind me. And I got a pretty big break on the first lap when Connor and Rob ended up battling through the first sector. And I think Connor made a mistake at turn 5 that really helped me just break the draft, because I think if I hadn't broken the draft, it definitely would have been a lot more stressful of a race for me, just because the draft gave you so much that race for sure. But yeah, it was a really calm, collected race, and big shout out to Private Label Team Hype Ethica, and really happy to get in their house built.
I try not to make that line because at least one person has to avoid diving into that one. I do want to ask you, though, about at least the last time I remember you here at Road America. It didn't end so well. Given how much the car has changed, though, I want to ask what the feeling of this car is compared to how this car drove during the ISOWC midway through last year. Given what we've had with the tires, what are you doing differently now compared to midway through 2021?
I mean, I'd say it's a hard comparison to make, even ignoring like all the changes that have happened, just because ISOWC was open setup, this is fixed setup. So fair. I'd say in ISOWC you're pushing the bounds of what the car is capable of a lot more, where this is just trying to make something competitive. And I know in ISOWC in 21 we were running much lower downforce across the board, and well, this was a high downforce setup. Even at open setup we'd run here is, I'd say, a few clicks higher on the wing, front and rear. So yeah, there's definitely a different philosophy now with the car. The super low downforce doesn't really work as well, because I think in ISOWC in 21 we were running like a 28 rear wing, which is, you're not pulling that off on this car now. But
right,
yeah. I definitely think since then the primary tires have become a lot better. I might be messing that up by a few builds, but I definitely think the primary tires become a lot more viable at most circuits, and it feels like there's a decent split between which track like favors the alternates, which one favors the primaries, and I don't think it was there in 21 quite yet.
It has actually been quite interesting to see how the strategy played out here today. The gamble to start on res not working out so well for some of our competitors. We're 13 races into this championship. You have 9 wins, 8 poles, and from what I understand, have finished on the podium in every single one of the races so far this year. Still got a lot of surprises left to go. What are you most looking forward to as we round our way to the double points finale at Fontana?
I mean, yeah, definitely still a lot of twists and turns left in this championship. Got to keep the good luck rolling while we have it, because it can just end in the blink of an eye. You never know what happens, so enjoy it while it's happening, But yeah, really looking forward to finishing out this season strong, just the way we've run the whole season, and hoping to continue that form for the the rest of the season. I think I just said the same thing twice, but you know what I mean. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
It's okay, I'm a commentator. I'm the king of redundant words. Phil Krause back in HyperX Victory Lane. It's become his home, that is for sure. As always, appreciate the time from our podium sitters to join us to chat about the 31 laps they just experienced and what still lies ahead, as we have plenty of racing still to go in this 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series presented by ButtKicker. It's 4 races in the month of August, and next time you couldn't get much different than the flowing, rolling nature of this Road America. Next time, Taylor, we head to the Michigan International Speedway 7 days from now. Same time, same place. August the 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern. This facility knows how to put on a show. We had a photo finish 3 wide in 2021.
You're talking speeds in excess of over 220 miles an hour just about with these cars around this circuit. High speeds, high banks, a lot of drafting, a lot of slingshots will happen. And like you said, a 3-wide finish the last time we were here. So it's just going to be even more incredible to see how these drivers will fare out here at the 2.5-mile Michigan International Speedway.
Well, unfortunately, that's going to wrap up our coverage of the SimRace247 Grand Prix of Road America presented by Moser Racing. Still lots of racing left to go, not just in this month of August, but as we wind our way to Auto Club Speedway at the start of December, when we will bring this championship to a close. Next time, of course, we go to the rolling hills of Michigan for what is going to be a 200-mile affair at Michigan. Not a Triple Crown race in 2022. Instead, it is just a short sprint to the checkered flag. On behalf of the team at RaceSpotTV, for Tyler Maxson, for Taylor Burris, and for myself, Arjuna Kankipati, it was a treat. Just remember to follow us for all your esports action across of social media. Lionheart has you covered for the latest news in the virtual paddock. ESTV, your home for all things esports. RaceSpotTV, your place to go to watch sim racing. As always, before we say goodbye, we need to thank those that make it possible, starting with ButtKicker, the title sponsor of the Lionheart IndyCar Series. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. ButtKicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com. Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products, like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane. And Gomez Sim Industries, the makers of high-end esports equipment and controls, precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. And it's not just them, but so many more that make this happen. To learn about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series, head over to LionheartRacingSeries.com, where you can learn more about the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts on here live on RaceSpotTV. Road America delivered an interesting race. Yes, Phil Krause waltzed to victory, but fighting in the mid-pack saw contenders work forward as they build championship points, jockeying for valuable track position. We'll be back in 7 days' time from Michigan. For Tyler Maxson, for Taylor Burris, and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, we bid you farewell from Elkhart Lake, where Phil Krause is a winner yet again in the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series.